as humans, the default way we relate to ourselves in life is like there's something wrong here. Think about it. Like we find the things that are wrong with us. We find the things that are wrong with life, wrong with the situation, wrong with other people, and it's just kind of like way of being that the ego is experiencing the world as there being something broken, something missing. It's like it's never quite right. Like it's not whole, it's not complete. It tends to, like most of life tends to be sort of filtered through this negative context, and it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what the ego is designed to do. And I want to take a moment to define what I mean by ego. The ego is the survival mechanism of thoughts that we use to analyze the world and with which we falsely identify. So it's sort of a collection of beliefs and thoughts that we've accumulated through a lifetime, whether it's cultural or from our parents or from our experiences. And we use it to navigate life. However, because it's inherently past based, it tends to be limited. And most importantly, it tends to be driven almost purely by fear. And again, I don't want you to hear that there's anything wrong with the ego. We all have an ego. It's part of being humans. It's kind of funny, like if you really stop and like look at the ego, it's like this kind of like panicked, raving lunatic. And it's valuable. It keeps us alive. Like it developed as a survival mechanism through evolution, because you think 100,000 years ago, the more negative and fearful we were, the more likely we were to survive. If we were just like hoarding resources and afraid of everything and just terrified of absolutely everything, guess what? It increased our likelihood of surviving. So our nervous system evolved to have fear be like a very prevalent aspect of how we navigate life. And again, not a problem. It's beautiful. It keeps us alive. It helps us, it motivates us. It keeps us from getting hit by a bus. Like, there's nothing wrong with the ego. It's just that it's not a very happy way to live. When we're in the grip of the ego, it's like it kind of comes with this just sense of like despair and tension and stress and all. I know you know what I'm talking about, right? So again, nothing wrong with the ego. And in this program, what we're doing is we're transcending the ego. It's not like it's not going to exist. It's going to take charge sometimes, and that's part of being a human being. And we're going to give you tools and practices to be able to make that shift rapidly into what I would call the true self or the higher self or our spiritual self. It's kind of like the clearing in which the ego arises. So, I want to just start by shifting a context. So if our default context is like everything's negative, everything's broken, everything needs to be fixed, which you can probably relate to, it's very subconscious. I want us to begin to anchor into a new belief, and this is the power of our brains, is that they're completely changeable. We have these patterns, we have subconscious ways of being, relating, believing, but through thought work and through meditation, we can actually rewire our brain. We can rewire our lives. We can actually, and there's a lot of data showing this. It happens quickly. It happens pretty fast. 8 weeks of daily meditation and people's stress centers in their brain like shrunk and their happiness centers expanded. And so it's good news. So one of the biggest beliefs we want to really get right to work at right away is that there's nothing wrong with us. We're inherently perfect. Like, we're fine. Everything is whole. We're complete. Life is perfect just as it is. You might already be having a kind of a reaction to this, and that's okay. That's just the ego being like, well, wait, this feels threatening. Because if you think about it, believing that life is perfect and happy and joyful actually feels kind of threatening, doesn't it? Like the ego doesn't want that. It actually feels more comfortable in a state of struggle and stress and tension and fear and all kinds of things. So again, we're conditioning like our minds and our nervous systems to allow ourselves to feel safe. Like, I want you to really just like close your eyes and like let this in for a second. It's safe for your life to be perfect. It's safe to feel happy. It's safe to believe that you are complete and there's nothing wrong and there's nothing missing. And like really just start to like let that in, like, begin to wire that new belief. And, I want you to think like you're already in perfect health. You're already in perfect happiness. You're already fully enlightened. There's simply some barriers that are in the way of that being fully expressed. And there's this image of a diamond in a bucket of mud. And I want you to think of yourselves as a diamond in a bucket of mud, because the diamond is inherently perfect, it's beautiful, and it's simply obstructed by mud. And the mud is these kind of like egoic patterns and different beliefs and, traumas or things that we need to heal to kind of like clean it off the diamond. But the important thing is that you in your natural state are perfect, enlightened, radiant, because once the mud is cleared, then the light hits the diamond and it's just this explosion of radiance, and that's who we are at our core. And it's important to believe, to begin to like really wire that in, like at your core, you're perfect. And it's safe to be happy. It's safe to live a wonderful life. It's safe to be complete. It's safe to be perfect. It's safe to accept life. And so that's one of the first things that I want you to really go to work on.